Hey, Shalom, Markins, Rakam, Makapash, and Jim. It's not giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Chachwadash. Want to give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the whole for the expression is truth and all sincerity. I got another video here, another quick video. This is an article from the Mail Online, right? And it basically plans to create like a London congestion zone is being developed in other parts of the country. This is here in southeast London. Oh, England, Britain, whatever, right? Down here in the southeast, in Canterbury, right? And essentially, it's creating these little mini cities and basically making it more easier, manageable to control, right? It's the same thing here in London. We've got the orbitals, we've got the M25 orbital that goes all the way around, London. You got the A406 that, is inside of that. Okay, and inside of that is what they call the ultra low emission zone, right? So depending on the car you got, depending what year it is and whatever, okay, you got to pay to travel within inside that area towards London. And if you go further into London towards central London, you got to pay congestion charges, for driving your vehicle through London. Right, so it's taxes and fines, for to do these things, right? And it obviously, supposed to limit the amount of traffic. That's what they say, and the carbon emissions, right? This is all an excuse of, to reduce carbon emissions and shit, because they're pushing that right now. So it's the same with these here, Canterbury right now. They're trying to establish this ring of control, or whatever, and stop people's movements. All right. So let's get into some of this article, right? Title here: Controversial plans to stop cars traveling between neighborhoods in Canterbury press ahead despite being branded a draconian ban on free movement. All right. And it's interesting that I believe it was a politician that used the word draconian, right? One of their own members, right? And we know we're in the times of, more draconian measures being brought in, right? This is Revelations 13 and verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, right? So Esau's increasingly coming with this more harsh and rough words and cruelty, right? As time goes on, he's coming with that wrath, because he have but a short time, right? So he establishing greater control, measures, okay, for when that time comes, man, which I'm going to grab in a minute. But we're going to read some of this article, right? It says, the plans to stop people driving between neighborhoods has come under fire. Canterbury City Council is proposing to divide the city into 5 districts. All right, you see here, right? It says, under the plan, drivers would be unable to cross between zones without a fine. Local Labour leader branded the suggestion as draconian ban on free movement. Right, and it goes on to say, a draconian ban to stop people driving between neighborhoods has come under fire for banning free movement as it approved for consultation. Canterbury City Council is proposing to divide the city into 5 different districts, with drivers unable to cross between zones without being fined. Instead, the council is asking residents to drive along a new bypass, which, along with other A roads, will create a ring road style approach. All right, so everything inside this ring road is basically locked in. Okay, these ring roads. Okay, like I said, we got the M25 and the A406 here around London. Okay, so in a time of mass distress, roads and that are easily locked down. Okay, cities are locked down, right? Because everybody has to use these routes to move around in it. So they won't be able to get out of these certain areas, man, when the time comes. All right, so it seems like they're just making other cities or other, parts of the population, other cities around the country in the same sort of fashion, because I'm sure, these other cities have their ring roads, right? But now they're enforcing that you can't drive in it. You have to drive around and come in a different way. You can't use the roads inside. And they're gonna, I'm gonna read it. They're gonna take out the roads, right, in between. Let's have a look where we. So yeah, to do so, they would have to leave their current neighborhood and re-enter their chosen location via specific newly permitted routes. Okay, newly permitted routes, right? Controlled routes. Anyone breaking the new driving rule will be hit with a fine when their movement is captured on number plate recognition cameras under the proposals. So automatic license plates readers, man. You know, Britain got a ton of cameras, man. All right. This is last week. Liberal Democrat Councillor Nick Eden Green said the council has no real idea of what it's going to cost, and that it could total about 100 million. You know, but you find that when the government want to do something, money is not a problem. It's when they don't want to do something, that's when they ain't got the money. I'm gonna jump down a little bit. It says residents would instead be encouraged to use public transport, walk or cycle their journey, or use permitted routes to drive. Right, so it's another thing that's being pushed here in London is the whole bicycle scheme. Obviously, we've got our public transport and that. You know, people are more encouraged to use those things because eventually you ain't gonna be able to drive your car around London at all. Right, so you have to be on foot, or you have to use a public transport, or you can only ride a bike. You know, this is Labour leader Councillor Dave Wilson told the meeting, "We need incentives to help people change how they travel, not a draconian ban on free movement, which could not be more contrary to British way of life." Blah blah blah. So the plan was modelled on the Belgian city of Ghent, which launched a circulation plan in 2017 that divided the city into 6 areas to cut the number of cars in the city centre. All right, so these other cities, these other countries are doing it as well. Right, like I said, it's all going to be based around this whole carbon emission thing. Right. I'm pretty sure there was a part. Wait, so we're going to get rid of the roads that existed. All right, okay. I'm not sure if I read this part or not. So here's the project would stop drivers from using smaller roads that connect the 5 neighborhoods, with the council closing the routes. So they're just going to close those roads off. They're going to be unusable. So you ain't going to have a choice. You know? So your movement will be severely limited. But that's what they want. They want to simplify, you know, the routes so they can manage and control and maintain it easier. You know? When this whole place falls apart. And so let me grab this second Ezra chapter 15 verse 17. Let me read up a bit actually. Let's start from 14, right? It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh." Okay, we're heading into that time, man. This place is on its last legs. This place is about to send into it's like into chaos, man. All right, just give it a little bit of time. It's coming. "And the one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men." And this is what they're preparing for. You know? And I'm not gonna say that, yeah, that, you know, all these places are gonna be able to achieve and do that before the time comes, but obviously there's plans on trying to do that. All right. It says they should not regard their kings or princes, their authorities, the powers, okay, the governments, the police, whatever, right? The power figures in this world. Okay, people are gonna become rebellious. All right. So, "and the course of their action shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able," right? Because they're going to lock the cities off. And this is just an easier way of managing and controlling that by doing things like this. And the fact that they're just going through with it anyway. They don't give a shit how the people feel about it. The guy is saying, "Oh, we simply can't just do nothing," right? And like I said, I'm assuming he's referencing to the whole carbon issue. All right, talking about they can't just do nothing. So they're using that as the excuse and the guys to bring this in. But ultimately, it's really it's just fulfilling prophecy, man. Because Esau knows that all this is gonna take place. All this chaos, right? And so he needs a way to manage it, in a more effective way. All right. It says, because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Right. So these men are not going to get out of the city. So it's going to be all this shit going on inside these specified places, man. That all just kind of cordon off, and there's going to be a lot of violence in these places, you know, and maybe less so for those outside of these rings, just outside of London, before the next city and that. But you're going to find different problems, man. You're going to find that you got no food either, you know, and then countryside, man, they're going to be looking for houses to raid, but it's just going to be very potent in these cities, man, because obviously the populations are dense. The streets are gonna run thick with blood, man. Because like I said, because of the dense populations, man. Okay, it's gonna be terrible in these cities. And there's only, well, there was only, these storehouses. They've already got food in these storehouses that last 3 days, right? It's like also read today that I think it was the oil or the gas, something like that, right? One of those that they've already got a 9-day supply of reserves, right? So if they have to go into the reserves because of the winter, yeah, because of the winter, um, if they have to go into the reserves, they've already got 9 days worth. After that, it's done. So then what happens afterwards? Can't heat your house, can't heat your water. You know, we know energy is going to be a big problem soon. Okay, these prices are becoming astronomical, and even the supply of them is you know is dubious, man. Whether or not they can supply everybody. Okay, you're talking about blackouts and all that type of stuff. All right, so yeah, it's not going to be a pretty picture, man. It's Psalm 64 verse 5. It says, they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? Right. So like I said, Esau right now, he's doing what he's doing. Okay, making all these plans and these schemes, right? Under the guise of the environment, under the guise of whatever, some self-righteous act that this man thinks he's doing, right? Trying to convince people that he's on. But it's all here just to really ensnare the people, man, to control them, to force them, to lay siege against them, right? So they eventually give in, right, and take the MOTB, you know? So they search out iniquities, they accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep, right? It's all carefully planned out. Pardon me, right? So I'm just gonna close up with this, right? 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11. So lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices, right? We know exactly why he's doing what he's doing. Okay, it's not to help the planet. It ain't to help the people. Right? It's to bring chaos, right? And out of that chaos, so that he can bring order, okay, and establish his NWO, have everybody C-hipped, right, implanted, so he can gain even more control over the peoples of the world, right? That's what it's all about, man. All right, so You know, I just thought it was an interesting article. Thought I'd share it. So, you know, with that, I'm going to say shalom. You know, Williams is fine. And I'll catch you brothers and sisters on the next video, man. So, till next time, I say shalom.